There is no place in the world quite like Miami Beach, and there's nobody better to tell the beach's colorful history than the people who have lived here and helped make it so special.
If you wanted to go into the big hotels at that time, you used to have to wear a jacket. Women wore furs. There was a lot of fur stores on Lincoln Road at that time.
The Miami Design Preservation League, in partnership with Close Up Productions, has been videotaping the memories of people from all walks of life who have lived, worked, and observed the ebb and flow of beach life.
That my father used to set up card tables around the pool, and these guys from Chicago and New York used to come down and they sit at the table, and my father would say to me, "Bring them orange juice, bring them towels, and don't hang around."
Until the 70s, some people could only work on the beach. They weren't allowed to live there.
Because I could not live on Miami Beach and go to school on Miami Beach, we had to live in Overtown.
The beach changed along with the mainland, but it has never lost its special allure: the sea, the sand, and the cityscape beside it.
My first experience in really loving Miami Beach was when my father took me to Lummis Park, and he took me gently into the ocean. And we floated and we sang and we giggled, and throughout my growing up, the ocean was a big part of my life.
It was a great place to grow up. I mean, I don't think we knew what a great place it was to grow up because we were kids. But we went to elementary school 2 blocks away from the beach. We walked everywhere. And even after we moved to Hibiscus Island, we still would take the bus. We would ride our bikes across the causeway. We would, once we were old enough that one of our friends had a little boat, we would take the boats through the canals to get places. It was a very free place to grow up.
I went straight from my birth at the hospital to the second floor of Joe's. There was an apartment up there, a 2-family apartment. My grandparents lived at one end, my mother and dad lived at the other. I was 13 and I started working full-time shift. That was at night, and I've been working ever since.
We grew up where on North Biscayne Point Road, so you had North Biscayne Point Road on one side, South Biscayne Point Road on the other side. We played baseball right there on the street on North Biscayne Point Road. And if the R bus was coming, or if a car was coming, somebody would yell, "Heads up," and that meant we got out of the street, the car went by, and we went right back to our game. It was a magical time, but we didn't know it at the time because we were kids.
My desire then, at that early age, was not to learn about Latin stuff, to be Cuban. That's what I wanted to be. This is BC. This is before Castro. You know, I'm talking about 38, 39, 40, and that. So I loved the music, I loved the food, I loved the girls. I think it was a combination of Miami Beach and puberty kicking in at the same time.
One of my first summer jobs, besides what came back, was to work at the Fontainebleau. And that's why I got one of those original cards. Everybody who worked on Miami Beach needed to have a card and a fingerprint and needed to have a background check from the police department. And it was signed by Rocky Pomerantz individually, and the employment was at the Fontainebleau Hotel. I was actually in the accounting department, but I convinced them to let me help out on the pool deck because at that time there were beautiful, beautiful people that were on the pool deck, and it was a lot of fun.
79-80 was also the Mario boat lift, the Miami riots. You know, it was it was a challenging time. And Miami was changing. The face of Miami continued to change. Miami Beach was had a growing more Hispanic population. We saw that starting in the late 70s. The Haitian influx. In fact, I won. I was fortunate enough to be nominated and win the Silver Knight Award from Beach High in general scholarship my senior year. And one of my projects was I actually started a tutoring program over at Edison High School, where we'd take honor society kids from Beach High and go over there and tutor the arriving Haitian folks in just like basics of surviving in an English-speaking American society.
In 1982 was the first time I ever came to Miami Beach. I was coming back from the Bahamas on a vacation, and I had seen a few weeks before the wonderful cover of Progressive Architecture with the Art Deco buildings on it. I had never known anything about Miami Beach, but my Aunt Lena lived in Miami Beach. So I was her favorite nephew. She was my favorite aunt. So I called her. She said, "Darling, I'd love to see you." So I went to see her. And actually, while I was with her, I drove down to see the Deco buildings. I took pictures. I didn't get out of the car. I kept the doors shut because everything looked a little too sketchy on the streets. I'd roll down the windows, take a picture, roll them back up, and then drive on another block. That was my picture.
With the completion of the first round of interviews, the Visual Memoirs project now moves into its second phase of weaving the memories into video stories about the beach's history. These videos will be shared with visitors, students, historians, and the increasingly diverse community that has become the city of Miami Beach.